What's going on, ACC fans? Welcome to another edition of ACC Lowdown. I am so excited to be back with you. It's been a few weeks. I've been on vacation, but let's jump right back into the saddle. Let's talk about the Wake Forest Demon Deacons. Last year they went 7-6, an overall good year, and they got that all-important bowl game to put them over 500. They beat Memphis in the Birmingham Bowl. Dave Clawson and his team have been doing great since he took over. He took over kind of a disastrous program. They couldn't really get any recruits down in Winston-Salem. Since he's been there, they've gone 28-35 in his 6 years. That's not phenomenal, but it's better than what it was before he got there. So let's jump right into this. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. As we continue to break down all these teams. Once we're done, we're going to go from top to bottom, figure out who's playing for the ACC championship, who's winning it, who's going to the college football playoff, or who's going to the Orange Bowl. Those are our only options here. So let's see what we got going on with Wake Forest today. So Dave Clawson, when he took over 6 years ago, Wake Forest was in total disarray. Since he joined this team, they have had some struggles defensively. Offensively, they've been great. They've been great every year he's been there. He's gone through a few defensive coordinators. Last year, they doubled up. They had co-defensive coordinators. But the reins this year went to Lyle Hempfield. He was one of the co-defensive coordinators last year. He did a solid job as they finished 8th in the ACC. It's one of those things, people, two heads are not better than one sometimes. And I definitely anticipate that 8 to jump up to a 5 or a 6 this year in total defense. If you've watched my previous videos, you already know I have Wake Forest at 0-2. But don't worry, Demon Deacon fans, it's not going to be as bad as it seems. So on the offensive side of the football, Wake Forest finished 4th in the ACC overall. Part of their success and part of their failures were based on the quarterback position. Both things cultivated an offense, and both things demoralized the offense at times. They ran a 2-quarterback system between Sam Hartman and Jamie Newman. I don't anticipate that to happen this year. I anticipate one guy to take over the reins, and right before we get into these predictions, I'm going to tell you who that quarterback is going to be. One of the bright spots in Wake Forest's offense last year was Cad Carney. He was a 1,000-yard rusher, a big, tough running back. And he's going to have another 1,000-yard year this year. They bring back 4 out of the 5 big uglies on the offensive side of the ball. But their biggest weapon leads for the 2019 season, and that was Greg Dortch, who was 2nd in the ACC in receiving yards, which is extremely impressive considering he had 2 different guys throwing him the football. And you got to think, with the chemistry in college football, for him to, it was heave and pray, and Greg came down with it most of the times. Replacing him is a kid I'm super excited about for you Wake Forest fans, and that's Devon Green. 4-star kid, homegrown out of North Carolina, ranked 39th in the state. And he is going to bring an immediate impact to this offense. Your only 4-star recruit. And no, if you want to argue with me and say Samir McCoolman was a 4-star kid, he was his junior year, but he isn't now. Defensive side of the ball, he'll get red-shirted. You've already got 2 solid defensive linemen. You're going to be fine on that side of things. So let's jump right into it with talking about their offense and how this is all going to play out. The most underrated aspect of Wake Forest before we do this is their tempo. They're one of the they run a brilliant tempo offense. I watched a little bit of their spring game, and out of those 2 quarterbacks, I'm going to go ahead and give the nod to Sam Hartman. I think he's got more leadership intangibles about him. I think he knows how to run the offense great. He was good when he needed to be. He didn't do great under pressure last year with his RPOs, but that's going to change this season. These quarterbacks, they develop quickly. Dave Clawson, what he's done there is he has developed young men, and he will continue to do that this year for Wake Forest. So with that being said, let's look at this schedule. So Wake Forest opens up the year against Utah State at home. I'm going to give them a win right there. I feel really confident in that. Utah State is going to have a down year this year. I looked up a little bit about them before I did this. They've lost a lot of seniors, and they lost, I think it was 3 players to the draft. Next on the list is Rice, away, which is bizarre. But we're going to give them a win here too. Now, if you watch my video on UNC, you already know how this is going to go. And the reason I have it this way is A, because it's at UNC, and B, there has been a resurgence of hope in Tar Heel Nation. Sorry, Wake Forest fans, but this is going to be a loss. Then you come back home to play Elon, your gimme game, to find out at the beginning of the year what guys on the offensive line, what guys on the defensive side of things, and the safety position and the cornerback position, who's going to start in your younger spots. And obviously you're going to get a win here. Then you travel away to Boston College. Boston College is a team I'm excited about covering. They've got the best running back in the ACC, hands down. It's not a question. A great young quarterback. I went back and forth with this. I wasn't really sure how I was going to do this. I think it's a 50-50 game either way. Both young teams. But what gives me the nod here to Wake Forest is that defensive line. So this is going to be a win for Wake. Now, here's where things get tricky. They have a very tough stretch after this Louisville game, right? You know, Louisville was terrible last year. So after this Louisville game, you know, that's their next solid win, and then the rest of it gets brutal. Look out. I'm going to give this one to Louisville. I think the fans for Louisville are excited. I think the players have a resurgence of energy under their new coach, Stattersfield. And Louisville comes away with a win here. Then they play FSU at home, Willie Taggart's crew. I got some stuff about Florida State y'all are going to want to see once we get to that. But I'm going to give Wake Forest the win here against FSU. So this is a 3-game home stretch for Wake Forest. This is between Louisville, FSU, and NC State. This might be the most crucial part of their season to get to a bowl game. And having NC State at home. They beat NC State last year on the road. They're going to beat them again at home. And going 2-1 in that stretch is great. And this could go either way. I think it's 2-1 regardless. I could be wrong about Louisville. It could be any of the other 2 teams. But I firmly believe it will be Louisville. Then they go on the road to Blacksburg, Virginia to play my Virginia Tech Hokies. And this is not because I'm a Tech fan. This is just how it's going to be. That's going to be a loss. Young quarterback playing in 2 hostile environments back-to-back. Virginia Tech and Clemson. And I don't really need to explain Clemson. That's another loss. And then they come back home on senior day to play Duke. I really like Wake Forest's chances here against Duke. So I'm going to give them a W here. And the team I'm most excited to cover in ACC Lowdown, and I cannot wait for y'all to watch this video, is the Syracuse Orangemen. They go on the road to the Carrier Dome. And ladies and gentlemen, the Carrier Dome is the Carrier Dome of old. We are back to the 90s when Donovan McNabb was there. And the place used to be rocking. We have finally found that again up at Syracuse, New York. And it's going to be incredible. It's going to be an incredible coverage. I can't wait for y'all to tune into that. We're going to go ahead and give Wake Forest the loss here. When that place is rocking, guys, that's a tough place to win. That's one of the toughest places to win in America when it's rocking. Let's count it up. Let's see how we did here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Last year they went 7-6. This year the Demon Deacons will go 7-5. And with a record like that, in all likelihood, they will get a call from the Belk Bowl and play an SEC team along the same caliber, and I believe they win that to go 8-5 on the year. A 1-win differential from last year in the positive direction. Dave Clawson will no longer be considered a satellite coach because he's found his home. Wake Forest, you have a lot to be excited for. I see you're 5th in recruiting for the 2020 season so far. Already signed 2 4-star guys. Potentially going to get a 5-star quarterback out of the greater Winston-Salem area. We'll see how that goes for you. And this has been our coverage of Wake Forest. Do not forget to like and subscribe. We're going to do a video later on this week. I'm not sure who it's going to be yet. You can go to my Twitter page at ACC Lowdown, ACC_Lowdown, and I will have the information uploaded on that. Again, don't forget to like and subscribe. We're going to get all this figured out. Y'all have a great day. Thanks for tuning in.